Be me, Mia, 52 years old. Work as HR director at major corporation. Spend my days ensuring workplace equality and fighting systemic oppression. Raised my son Nolan as a single mother after his father left when he was 3. Always taught him to be aware of his privilege as a white male. Made sure he understood the struggles women face in society. Proud that I raised him to be conscious of these issues. Nolan is 28 now, works in IT, seems to be doing well for himself, lives alone in decent apartment, has steady job, financially independent. Exactly what I hoped for when I raised him to be self-sufficient. Always assumed he was thriving because he had all the advantages society gives men. Few months ago, Nolan calls me on a Tuesday evening. Unusual because he typically only calls on weekends. Sounds different. Quieter than normal. Hey Mum, can we talk? Like really talk. Immediately put down my wine and turned off the documentary about workplace harassment I was watching. Of course, honey. What's going on? He takes this long pause. I've been struggling lately. Like, really struggling. My first thought is maybe he lost his job or has financial problems. What kind of struggling? Do you need money? No, it's not that. I don't know how to explain this. Another long pause. Can hear him breathing heavily. I'm really lonely, Mom. Like, desperately lonely. Confused, because loneliness seems like such a simple problem to solve. Well, why don't you just go out more, join some activities? It's not that simple. I don't have any real friends. Like, none. This genuinely surprises me, because I always assumed men just naturally formed friendships. What about your coworkers? We're friendly at work, but that's it. Nobody ever invites me anywhere. I eat lunch alone every day. Starting to feel a bit impatient because this seems like he's just not trying hard enough. Nolan, you're an adult. You need to put yourself out there. I have been trying, Mom. I've joined hobby groups, tried dating apps, gone to meetups, and nothing sticks. The hobby groups are all middle-aged married guys who are polite but don't want to hang out outside the group. This sounds like normal social dynamics to me. Well, what about dating? You're a good-looking guy with a decent job. Can hear him getting more emotional. That's the other thing. I haven't been on a date in over 2 years. Now I'm starting to get annoyed because this sounds like whining. 2 years? What have you been doing to meet women? Everything I can think of. Dating apps, social events, even tried speed dating. And nothing? I get maybe one match a month on apps. Most don't respond. The ones who do ghost me after a few messages. This is where I start to lose patience. Nolan, women don't owe you their attention. Maybe you need to work on yourself instead of expecting women to just fall into your lap. Can hear him take a shaky breath. I know that, Mom. I'm not saying anyone owes me anything. I'm just telling you how isolated I feel. But you have to understand how this sounds from a woman's perspective. We deal with harassment and unwanted attention constantly. Getting into my usual lecture mode now. Do you know how many women have to deal with men who think they're entitled to our time and bodies? Mom, I'm not talking about entitlement. I'm talking about basic human connection. But I'm on a roll now. This is territory I know well. The problem is that men have been conditioned to believe they deserve female attention just for existing. That's not what I'm saying at all. His voice is getting strained, but I barely notice. Maybe if more men learn to appreciate women as full human beings instead of objects to be obtained. Mum, please. I'm trying to tell you that I'm in pain. The word pain irritates me because it seems so dramatic. Pain? Really? You have a good job, your own place, complete freedom to do whatever you want. Having material things doesn't mean I'm not emotionally suffering. This is where I make my biggest mistake. I actually laugh. Not a mean laugh, but more like an exasperated chuckle. Emotional suffering? Nolan, you're a straight white man in America. You have every advantage in life. The line goes completely quiet. Do you know what real suffering looks like? It's women getting passed over for promotions because they might get pregnant. Still talking, not realizing he's gone silent. It's walking to your car alone at night wondering if you'll be attacked. It's having your ideas dismissed in meetings because of your gender. I'm fully in lecture mode now, pacing around my kitchen. Your loneliness is nothing compared to systemic oppression that women face every single day. Realize I haven't heard him respond in a while. Nolan, are you listening to me? Very quiet voice. I'm here. Good, because I think you need to gain some perspective on what real problems look like. I work in HR. I see discrimination every day. I see women fighting for basic respect in the workplace. And you're complaining to me about not having enough friends? Another long silence. Maybe you should volunteer with underprivileged communities and see what actual hardship looks like. Mom, his voice sounds strange, very flat. Yeah? I need to go. Wait. We were having an important conversation about perspective and privilege. Goodbye, Mom. Line goes dead. Figure he just got emotional and needed space. Men aren't great at handling difficult conversations anyway. Don't think much of it for the first week. Assume he'll call when he's ready to continue the discussion more rationally. Week 2. Try calling him. Go straight to voicemail. Hi, honey. Just checking in. Call me back when you get this. No response for 3 days. Try again. Nolan, I know our last conversation was intense, but we should talk through this. Still nothing. Week 3. Starting to get concerned. Call his work. They say he's there, but unavailable. Try texting. I'm worried about you. Please just let me know you're okay. Message shows as delivered, but no response. Text again. Even if you're angry with me, I need to know you're safe. Nothing. Month 1. Drove to his apartment building. Buzzed his unit multiple times. Know he's home because his car is there. He doesn't answer. Wait in the lobby for 2 hours thinking he might come down. Never appears. Try leaving voicemails, explaining my position more clearly. I wasn't trying to dismiss your feelings. I was trying to give you context. There are people with much bigger problems than social anxiety. I love you and want to help you gain perspective on this situation. Still nothing. Month 2. Starting to feel genuinely confused. This level of silence seems excessive for one difficult conversation. Maybe he's having some kind of breakdown. Call his work again. They confirm he's still employed and coming in regularly. So he's functional enough for work but completely ignoring me. Try a different approach in my voicemails. I know you're going through something difficult. We can work through this together. Family doesn't give up on each other over one disagreement. I'm here when you're ready to talk like adults. Radio silence continues. Month 3. This is the longest we've ever gone without speaking. Even during his teenage years when he was being difficult, it never lasted this long. Starting to think maybe I should reach out to a therapist for advice. But that feels like admitting defeat. Mention the situation to colleagues at work during lunch. My son is going through some kind of phase where he won't talk to me. Don't go into details about our conversation. Men can be so emotional and irrational when they don't get their way. My coworker Sarah asks what happened. He was complaining about his social life, and I tried to give him some perspective. She nods sympathetically. Sometimes people need space to process feedback. Month 4. Christmas is coming up. We always spend Christmas together. Just the 2 of us. Surely he won't skip Christmas over this. Send text. What are your Christmas plans? Should I make reservations somewhere? Read but no response. Try calling Christmas morning. Voicemail is full now. Drive to his apartment again. Car isn't there. Ask neighbor if she's seen him. Oh yes, he left yesterday with suitcases. Said he was visiting friends for the holiday. Friends? What friends? He said he didn't have any friends. This hits me harder than expected. Spend Christmas alone for the first time in 28 years. Keep checking my phone hoping for a message. Nothing. Month 5. New Year. Still no contact. Starting to feel like maybe I need to apologize. Not because I was wrong, but because clearly he took it harder than I expected. Leave voicemail. I'm sorry if I came across as unsympathetic. That wasn't my intention. Still nothing. Month 6. Really missing our regular conversations now. Used to talk to him at least twice a week. Realize I don't know what's going on in his life at all anymore. Is he dating anyone? Did he get a promotion? Is he okay? The not knowing is becoming genuinely distressing. Try reaching out to his work one more time. They say he's no longer employed there. He quit 2 weeks ago. Panic sets in. What if he moved away? Drive to his apartment, different car in his parking spot. Ask leasing office. They confirm he moved out. No forwarding address. Month 7. He's completely disappeared. No idea what city he's in or how to reach him. Realize I don't know any of his friends' names or contact information. Because apparently he really didn't have friends. Just like he said. Start going through old photos, trying to remember anyone he mentioned. Month 8. Finally find him on social media after being blocked for months. His profile is mostly private, but I can see he's in a different state now. Looks like he's made some friends based on group photos. Appears to be dating someone based on couple photos. He's smiling in ways I haven't seen in years. Seeing him happy without me creates this weird mix of relief and hurt. Relief because he clearly figured out his social problems. Hurt because he did it without any help from me. and apparently my presence was more of a hindrance than a help. Month 9. Create fake social media account to see more of his posts. Feel pathetic doing this, but desperate for information. He can see he's been posting about his new life, talks about his friend group, his girlfriend, his new job, posts about hiking trips and game nights and dinner parties, the exact kind of social connections he said he wanted. One post stops me cold. It's a photo of him at what looks like a therapy session or support group. Caption reads, 6 months into healing from family trauma. Finally learning that my feelings were valid all along. Family trauma? I gave him a loving home and every opportunity. Month 10. Can't stop thinking about that post. Family trauma feels like such an overstatement. We had one difficult conversation where I tried to give him perspective, but seeing him thrive completely without me is starting to make me question things. Decide to do some research on male loneliness. Not because I think I was wrong, but because I want to understand his perspective better. What I find genuinely surprises me. Apparently male suicide rates are much higher than female rates. Men report having fewer close friendships than previous generations. Social isolation in young men is being called an epidemic. Some of the articles describe exactly what Nolan was telling me. Difficulty making friends as an adult male. Challenges with online dating and modern romance. The specific struggles men face with emotional expression and vulnerability. Suddenly his words come back to me. I'm trying to tell you that I'm in pain. Month 11. Finally decide to call my therapist. I haven't been to therapy in years, but this situation is affecting my work and sleep. Dr. Martinez listens to my explanation of events. So your son came to you in a vulnerable moment, and you responded by minimizing his experience? Immediately defensive. I was trying to give him context about real problems. What made you feel that his problems weren't real? Because objectively, his complaints were minor compared to systemic oppression. But we're not talking about society-wide issues. We're talking about your son's personal pain. Right, but perspective matters. Some problems are bigger than others. Mia, when someone you love tells you they're suffering, what do you think they need in that moment? Think about it for a minute. I guess. Support? And what did you offer instead? I offered perspective. How do you think that felt to receive? This question sits with me for days. Keep replaying the conversation in my mind. He was trying to open up about genuine loneliness and isolation. I responded by telling him other people had it worse. Even laughed at him when he used the word pain. Month 12. It's been a full year since our conversation. Year since I've heard his voice. Finally understand why he disappeared so completely. I took the moment when he was most vulnerable and made him feel small. Go back to therapy. I think I might have been wrong. What makes you think that? He trusted me with something deeply personal, and I betrayed that trust. How did you betray it? By making it about my political views instead of about his emotional needs. This realization hits harder than expected. Start crying in the therapist's office. I laughed at my own son when he told me he was in pain. What do you think you'd like to do with this understanding? I need to apologize. Really apologize. Not just apologize for how he took it. Spend weeks crafting the perfect apology letter. Write draft after draft, trying to get it right. Finally settle on something honest and direct. Nolan, I've spent the past year thinking about our conversation, and I finally understand how wrong I was. When you came to me with genuine vulnerability about your loneliness and isolation, I responded with dismissiveness and lectures instead of compassion. I laughed at your pain because I was so focused on my own worldview that I couldn't see your individual suffering. You deserved a mother who listened and supported you, not one who minimized your experience. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed you to know that I finally understand what I did wrong. I'm genuinely sorry. Hire private investigator to find his current address. Feel creepy doing this, but need to reach him somehow. Send the letter via certified mail so I know he receives it. 2 weeks later, get a text from an unknown number. I got your letter. I need more time. It's him. Resist urge to respond immediately with explanations or justifications. Simply reply, take all the time you need. I love you. I know. Month 13. He sends longer text. I'm willing to try a phone call, but I need you to understand that things can't go back to how they were. Agree immediately. We schedule a call for the following Sunday. When he calls, his voice sounds different. More confident, more self-assured. Less like he's seeking my approval for everything. Hi, Mom. Hi, honey. Thank you for calling. I want to explain what happened from my perspective. Listen without interrupting as he describes the past year, how my reaction to his vulnerability made him realize our relationship was one-sided, how he'd been seeking my approval and validation his whole life, how my dismissal was the final confirmation that I saw him as a symbol rather than a person. I wasn't just lonely for friends and romantic connection. I was lonely in our relationship too. This hits harder than expected. You're right. I was so focused on raising you to be aware of social issues that I forgot to see you as an individual. I needed my mom that night, not a social justice educator. I know. I'm sorry I couldn't be what you needed. We talked for 2 hours. He tells me about his new life, his friends, his girlfriend Sarah, how therapy helped him realize his feelings were valid, how building genuine connections required vulnerability that I had inadvertently taught him to suppress. I learned that my emotions and needs matter, even if other people have different or bigger problems. You were right to cut me off, I tell him. It wasn't about being right or wrong. It was about protecting my mental health. I understand that now. Do you? Because I need to know this won't happen again. We agree to start rebuilding slowly. Monthly phone calls, gradually increasing if things go well. He's clear that our relationship will have boundaries now. No more lectures about privilege when he's sharing personal struggles. No more comparing his problems to global issues. If I can't offer emotional support, I should say so directly instead of deflecting. Month 14. Our second scheduled call goes well. He tells me about his new job, his friend group, weekend plans. I practice just listening and asking supportive questions. Resist urge to offer unsolicited advice about anything. Focus on being genuinely curious about his life, rather than trying to guide it. He mentions that Sarah wants to meet me eventually. She's been really good for me, helped me see that I deserve care and consideration. Feel happy for him, but also guilty that I never made him feel that way. I'd love to meet her when you both feel ready, maybe in a few months. We'll see how these calls continue to go. Month 15. Nolan sends me photos from a hiking trip with friends. Seeing him genuinely happy and connected to people fills me with both joy and regret. Joy, because he found what he was looking for. Regret, because I couldn't be part of helping him find it. Because my reaction actively made his struggle harder. Month 16. During our call, he mentions considering moving back to our state eventually. Not to live near you necessarily, but Sarah got a job offer here, and we're thinking about it. How do you feel about being geographically closer to me? Honestly, it makes me nervous, but I think I'm strong enough now to maintain boundaries if needed. The fact that he needs to be strong enough to handle proximity to his own mother is sobering. I created a dynamic where he felt he had to protect himself from me, where seeking support from me was actually harmful to his well-being. Month 18. They move back to the state. We meet in person for the first time in 2 years at a neutral restaurant. He looks healthy and confident. Sarah is lovely, warm but clearly protective of him. Can tell she knows the whole story of why we were estranged. During dinner, I apologize again in person. I want Sarah to hear this too. I failed you as a mother during a time when you needed support. Don't go into lengthy explanations about my motivations or worldview. Keep the focus on impact, rather than intent. You deserved better from me. Sarah speaks up. Nolan's told me a lot about your relationship. I appreciate that you're working to understand what went wrong. Her tone is polite, but there's steel underneath. This woman clearly won't tolerate anyone hurting him again. Feel grateful that he found someone who protects his emotional well-being since I failed to. Month 20. We've progressed to occasional in-person visits. I'm learning to relate to him as the adult he is, rather than the child I raised. Learning to ask about his life without trying to manage or improve it. Learning that sometimes people just want to be heard, not advised. He tells me about a difficult situation at his new job. My instinct is to offer solutions and perspective. Instead, I ask, how are you feeling about all that? We have a genuine conversation about his stress and concerns. I offer emotional support instead of lectures. He seems surprised, but pleased by this approach. Month 22. Nolan and Sarah get engaged. He calls to tell me personally before posting on social media. I wanted you to hear it from me first. Feel honored that he thought to include me in this moment. Also feel sad knowing that our estrangement means I missed years of their relationship development. I'd like you to be at the wedding. If you want to come. This invitation feels like a gift I don't deserve, but accept gratefully. I would love to be there. Good, but Mom, I need you to understand that this day is about me and Sarah, not about repairing our relationship. Of course, I just want to celebrate your happiness. Month 24. The wedding is beautiful. Nolan looks genuinely joyful in a way I haven't seen since he was a child. During his speech, he thanks his friends for supporting him through difficult times. Doesn't mention me specifically, but I don't expect him to. I forfeited the right to be acknowledged as a source of support. Sarah's family is warm and welcoming to me despite knowing our history. Her father tells me, "Nolan's a good man. You raised him well." I want to correct him that Nolan became a good man despite my failures. Not because of my parenting, but just smile and say thank you. Month 26. We've settled into a new normal. We talk every few weeks, see each other monthly. Relationship feels more authentic now than it ever did before, because it's based on who we actually are rather than who I thought we should be. Nolan tells me he's been thinking about having kids soon. I want to do better than. He trails off. Than I did. I finish for him. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I understand. I just want to make sure I really listen to my kids. Make them feel heard. You will. You're already so much more emotionally intelligent than I was. Thanks, Mum. That means a lot coming from you. Realize this is probably as close as we'll ever get to fully repairing what I broke. Our relationship will always carry the scar of that night when I laughed at his pain. But we've built something new on the other side of it. Something more honest and real. Month 30. Today, Nolan called to tell me Sarah is pregnant. They want to wait until the second trimester to share publicly, but wanted family to know early. The fact that he considers me family again feels like an undeserved miracle. Do you want to know what made me willing to rebuild our relationship? He asks. What? It wasn't just your apology. It was that you actually changed your behavior. You stopped seeing me as a representative of male privilege and started seeing me as your son. This observation stays with me for days. Realized that my political views had become more important to me than my personal relationships. I had stopped seeing the individuals in front of me and only saw demographic categories. Turned my own son into a symbol instead of treating him as a human being. Looking back now, can see that I was the entitled one. Entitled to dismiss his pain because it didn't fit my worldview. Entitled to lecture him instead of listening to him. Entitled to his continued presence in my life no matter how I treated him. He was smart enough to recognize that he deserved better. Smart enough to protect himself from my toxicity. Smart enough to build the life and relationships he actually wanted. While I was too focused on being right to realize I was losing him. Now when people ask about our relationship, I'm honest. We went through a rough patch where I failed him as a mother. He was smart enough to walk away until I could do better. Don't make myself the victim of his oversensitivity. Don't blame his generation or modern culture. Take responsibility for my own actions and their consequences. Still believe in equality and justice, but learn that compassion has to start with the people closest to you. Learned that individual pain deserves acknowledgement even when bigger problems exist. Learn that being right about social issues doesn't give you permission to be wrong about personal relationships. Month 36. My granddaughter is born. Nolan calls me from the hospital. Mom, do you want to meet Elena? Named after Sarah's grandmother, which feels appropriate. This child will grow up knowing she's loved for who she is, not molded into who someone thinks she should be. When I hold her for the first time, Nolan watches carefully. You can tell he's evaluating whether I can be trusted with someone vulnerable, whether I've truly learned to put people before politics, whether I can love unconditionally. She's perfect, I tell him. She is, and she's going to grow up knowing that her feelings matter. Yes, she will. Realize this is his way of telling me the boundaries that will exist. If I ever dismiss or minimize her experiences the way I did his, I'll lose access to both of them again, and this time it would be permanent. But looking at this tiny person who trusts me completely, can't imagine ever making her feel small or unheard. Maybe because I finally understand what I lost when I did that to her father. Maybe because I've learned that love means listening, not lecturing. Nolan is right to protect her from the version of me that failed him. Grateful that he's giving me the chance to be better for her. Grateful that he's smart enough to ensure history doesn't repeat itself. As I hold Elena and watch my son with his wife and daughter, feel profound sadness for the years we lost, but also hope that we've built something stronger on the other side of that loss. Something based on mutual respect rather than assumed entitlement. He outsmarted me completely. Recognized that he deserved better treatment than I was offering. Had the courage to demand it by walking away. Forced me to confront my own behavior instead of his reactions to it. Created the space necessary for real change to occur. The woman who laughed at her son's vulnerability 3 years ago feels like a stranger now. Someone who prioritized being right over being loving. Someone who confused political awareness with personal wisdom. Someone who forgot that her first job was to be a mother, not an educator. My son taught me that real strength sometimes means walking away. That setting boundaries isn't punishment, it's self-preservation. That people can change if they're willing to admit they were wrong. That love without respect is just manipulation. Looking at my granddaughter sleeping peacefully in my arms. Make a silent promise to never make her fight for basic emotional acknowledgement. To listen when she speaks and validate her experiences. To love her for who she is, rather than who I think she should be. Nolan broke the cycle by refusing to accept less than he deserved. Now it's my responsibility to ensure that cycle stays broken, to be the grandmother she needs and the mother he should have had, to finally understand that love is a verb, not a feeling. 3 years later, still grateful he was smart enough to save us both.